Hi folks, if you're wondering who is this guy and what has he done with Reese, let me explain. I'm Nick Andert, and I've got a transit channel focused primarily on Los Angeles and California. And if you leave $500,000 in cash in a bag under the 6th Street Bridge before midnight, you get Reese back. If you've never been to LA, you probably have at least some preconceived notion of what it's like here. Popular tropes tend to paint it as a vapid, soulless, horrifically suburban, traffic-choked hellscape where you'd be more likely to find a roving pack of food delivery robots than a pedestrian. But nothing could be further from the truth. Well, except the traffic part. We do have a lot of traffic. This city is a melting pot of a degree rarely seen anywhere else in the world. Surrounded by absolutely gorgeous nature on all sides, chock full of world-class cultural institutions, some of the best food on the planet, and is the heart of multiple US industries, most famously its entertainment industry, which is what brought me here 15 years ago in the first place. And while the greater LA region sprawls out mind-numbingly far, it's a much denser and more urban city than many people realize. It's the third densest metro area in the country behind Miami by a hair, partly because, as you can see in this chart, breaking down the levels of density in American and Canadian cities, even our suburban areas are still actually quite dense for suburbs. And we have vast stretches of extremely vibrant, walkable areas. Anyway, you should visit, it's great. But what about transportation? Isn't it all just bumper-to-bumper freeways out here? Well, at one time, LA actually had the most comprehensive public transit network of any city in the world. That was in the 1920s with the Pacific Electric and Los Angeles railway systems. But as you may have seen in a popular documentary, that system got wholly ripped out by the 1960s, and the city spent decades narrowly voting down proposal after proposal to build a more modern metro rail system until one proposal finally stuck, giving us a network which has been growing steadily since it first started service in 1990. And while most American transit systems are lucky to add an extension once every other decade at this point, LA passed two ballot measures in 2008 and 2016, injecting a massive amount of capital into the system, creating the most ambitious metro rail expansion program on the continent. Combined with our rather extensive bus network, living car-free in Los Angeles is already surprisingly feasible, and it's only getting better. So let's talk about where LA is now, where it's going, and the obstacles along the way. At present, LA Metro consists of 2 heavy rail lines, 4 light rail lines, and 2 BRT lines, with 1 heavy rail extension and 1 light rail extension currently under construction, and 1 entirely new light rail line and another entirely new BRT line just starting to spin up construction. And worth noting, I always use my own map for these videos, which looks a little different than LA Metro's official map, and displays segments with at-grade street crossings with a thinner weight to give you an idea of the speed of various lines. We also have a regional rail network called Metrolink that's undertaking a large, albeit much delayed, effort to improve its service to every half hour or every 15 minutes in most places. While we do now have the highest ridership light rail system in the country, our meager 2 heavy rail lines, one just a little stub, gives us only the 9th highest heavy rail ridership in the US, with the 8th highest per capita transit ridership. That lowish score stems from a number of things. One is that the largely hub-and-spoke nature of our existing system isn't ideal for a city as polycentric as LA, even though downtown LA is a rather high population area. And another reason is that several highly congested or extremely dense corridors in the region remain wholly unserved with rapid transit, while the land use around some existing parts of our network is, not ideal. But we are just on the verge of a sea change that will start to wipe those obstacles away. First, the state is currently passing a bill that will radically upzone around all transit stops, which will really help our land use problem. Just a few weeks ago, an LAX rail station finally opened, giving air travelers easy access to transit after decades of being teased with the possibility. The People Mover train to actually connect that station to the airport still won't open until January, but Once it does, expect the system to surge with new riders, and expect to experience 90% less murderous rage when trying to reach an LAX terminal. Over the next 3 years, 3 extensions of our D-Line heavy rail will open to Miracle Mile, Beverly Hills, Century City, and Westwood, not only connecting some of the region's densest areas on one of its busiest corridors, but also enabling a journey that sounds almost like magic to an Angelino. Downtown to Westwood in 25 minutes. This is a trip that easily takes over an hour in traffic, and to be able to hop on a train and make it in 25 minutes every time will be a game changer for this city. Right now, there's a few trips across town on Metro that are consistently faster than driving, but not many, largely because large parts of the AE and smaller parts of the K line contain grade crossings on surface streets without even getting traffic signal priority, although hopefully that last part is about to finally change. This critical backbone being so fast and reliable will inject thousands upon thousands of riders into the system, and it's just around the corner. In the next 6 years, this should all be open as well, with this new line traveling the densest corridor in the San Fernando Valley, bringing even more riders into the system. But it's in the 2030s that the most glaring gaps in the system will finally start getting filled in. Most important is the Sepulveda line, which will bridge the west side with the San Fernando Valley along the miserable 405 corridor, and will hopefully be built as a crazy frequent automated heavy rail system that can serve as a blueprint on how we build new lines in the future. This will turn another horrible hour-plus journey into a 20-minute breeze, become the new busiest rail line on the network, and boast the new busiest transfer and non-transfer stations on the network, the latter smack dab in the middle of UCLA's campus. In hopefully a similar time frame, a fully grade-separated northern extension of the K-Line light rail will arrive at Hollywood, serving Mid-City and West Hollywood in the process, and linking the E, D, and B lines. And in the gateway cities between LA proper and Orange County, the first phase of the Southeast Gateway light rail line will add connectivity along some dense outlying communities, with another couple of light rail extensions and new BRT lines popping up as well. You can see now that a grid is starting to form, giving travelers a lot more flexibility on getting from point A to point B without going through downtown. Then, through the 2040s and 50s, the Measure M program will finish with another slew of extensions, new BRT lines, and a conversion of the G-Line BRT to light rail. Every single new line or extension you see here already has partial funding through Measure M. But Metro's ambitions are even greater than just this map. Several projects that are not yet funded are still under study or about to be, due to either being high priority from a transit planning perspective, such as a new rail line along Vermont, which is the busiest bus corridor in the county, being relatively cheap and easy to do, like an Arts District station on the B and D lines, being directed to do so by politicians, like a conversion of the forthcoming NoHo-Pasadena BRT line to light rail, likely as an extension of a converted G line, or, I expect based on recent comments, a final extension of the A line, already the longest light rail line in the world, to Ontario Airport, or because of individual cities funding studies themselves, like for parts of a BRT line that would span all the way from the San Gabriel Valley to Long Beach. This looks like a ridiculous fantasy map, but this is a very real, very much in progress look at the future of LA Transit. The biggest question is how long it'll take. We have been stymied thus far in our efforts to accelerate things due to the mounting issues America seems to have with building transit affordably and on schedule. But even those issues are starting to seem surmountable, as advocacy groups seem on the verge of achieving serious reform of California's transit funding and delivery mechanisms. All told, you'd be hard-pressed to find another city in the world with more transit planning action and drama than LA right now. Not only do I put out annual update videos summarizing the progress made, I take a lot of very in-depth looks at the process of designing and building new lines as they happen, and keep locals apprised of opportunities for collective action, such as with the Sepulveda line right now, which has just dropped its environmental review and features a battle between a state-of-the-art automated heavy rail system and a ludicrous monorail proposal promoted by a comic book villain former Ticketmaster CEO who hates the very notion of poor people traveling somewhere below him and his neighbors in Bel Air, even though they wouldn't be impacted on the surface at all. I also break down other infrastructure, like with a series on LA's area airports, take a look at flaws in our planning process, and have some bold proposals of my own. So, come learn about LA. It's a pretty great place, and always an interesting one. Okay, did you leave the money? Oof. Bad luck, Reese. Yeah, I told them. Yeah, I guess you're just gonna have to keep having the channel get taken over. I don't know what to tell you.